the Chicago Bulls are not trading Coby White. But there was a recent Bleacher Report article thrown out there by Dan Faville where he suggested that he may be on the trade block when the NBA trade deadline rolls around. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Bulls Report. My name is Patrick Siepman. I also do want to talk about another Bleacher Report article real quick. Greg Swartz put out there that potentially Billy Donovan and the Bulls could be parting ways, but I'm not really taking this as a full-on report yet, but we will have a video coming out probably tomorrow discussing that situation. But we are going to be talking about trading Coby White on this show, and I have a ton of thoughts regarding that situation as, you know, I believe that no Bulls player should be untouchable, but also trading Coby White, like the really only success story around this Bulls front office, is something I wouldn't even consider. But you guys be honest with me down below. Would you even consider trading Coby White? Give me a T for trade or a P for pass. Now, Dan wrote up this very long article talking about, you know, what teams he would rank in terms of being sellers at this upcoming deadline. Now, he said more cautious people will slide them down a rung or two or altogether off this ladder, as he did have the Bulls as the second most likely team to be a seller. But he also said, paint me as an optimist. This organization isn't known for acting rationally or in the best interest of its future. But moving on from it, Alex Caruso and DeMar DeRozan suggest Chicago is finally approaching the bigger picture with a more open mind, even if the returns for both players were underwhelming. Many will be quick to note that the Bulls aren't spilling over with sweepstake-type assets. Now, Zach LaVine, 3 years, $138 million, and Nikola Vucevic, 2 for $41.5, are considered net negatives on their current contracts. Yours truly would push back against the perception of LaVine, but for the sake of this argument, let's assume he's not an actual asset. Chicago still has more to offer. We'll talk about that here in a second, but I got a question for the Bulls front office here. Can we show some self-awareness during the season? Can we just finally prove to our fan base that we have the best interest of not the near future, but of the future of the franchise maybe in the next 5 years? Because the Bulls have been just trying to grasp at play-in tournament appearances instead of looking at how they can build a championship contender here in Chicago. And I think this is a very important note. It's not like the Bulls were a 500 or above 500 team at last year's NBA trade deadline. They were 23-27, a joke of an NBA team, and they still decided to make no moves. So even if the Bulls this upcoming year are 5 games below 500 or whatever it may be, I am still not certain that they would be able to move off some of their key players. Now, Dan did talk about the Bulls potentially trading 3 young stars, saying this: Ayo Dosunmu, Coby White, and Patrick Williams will all garner interest if placed on the chopping block. The Bulls also shouldn't be married to Josh Giddey if he's playing well and they're losing games. And that's especially true if they don't sign him to an extension before the start of the season. Now, my overall take here: I'm very against trading Coby White. He has truly been one of the few success stories we have seen over in terms of a player developing within the Bulls organization. But if it has the best interest of the future of this franchise, maybe a team overpays and say, hey, we're going to throw you 4 first-round picks and a young player for Coby White, you have to consider it. And listen, Coby and Ayo last year were fantastic. Coby White specifically really turned himself into a for sure 20-point-a-game guy, probably for the rest of his, prime in the NBA. But then Ayo turned himself into one of the better two-way guard defenders in the entire NBA, averaging 12 points a game, being very efficient from the field and also from downtown this past season. I've seen the jump out of both of those guys. But no player on this Bulls roster should be considered untouchable. Hurts me to say, I love watching Coby White. I loved what he did in the play-in tournament, and I would not trade him unless you're getting an overwhelming offer. But let's just say a team who is a borderline contender, and they view Coby as that piece that could get them over the top, take advantage of him being on one of the most team-friendly deals in the entire league, and they overpay and send you a plethora of first-round picks, you would have to consider it, right? Like, even if it's for Ayo, Josh Giddey, if these teams call you and say, hey, we will overpay for these guys, we just want to get them on our team, we know you love them, we know they have, a connection specifically with the fans in terms of Coby White, but no player on this Bulls roster should be considered untouchable. They are very far away from competing for championships, and there is no player where you should say, hey, that guy, I wouldn't trade him for anything. But I do want to ask you guys this. So the bookmakers out west, according to Vegas, the Bulls over-under for this season is 27.5 wins. You guys let me know your thoughts. Give me an O for over or give me a U for under. This is a tough line, actually, as I do think the Bulls have a decent amount of talent on the roster. But, again, if they trade LaVine, trade Vooch, I mean, I could see this team winning 20, 25 wins. But, hey, you guys give me an answer down below in the comments section. Now, I do want to give a massive shout-out to today's sponsor, and that is PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. Now, PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. Now, with football season just around the corner, I cooked up a lineup for week 1 as I'm taking the more on Caleb Williams passing yards at 236.5. And then I'm going to take the more on Justin Jefferson, best wide receiver in the NFL, on 89.5 receiving yards. Then I think Caleb's going to be finding his top option week 1 in DJ Moore. So I'm taking the more on his receiving yards at 63.5. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I'll make sure to put that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. Now, I will want to make this point around the Bulls maybe being massive sellers and trading guys who we view as, foundational pieces on this team. You never know. The Bulls' best player is honestly more likely than not in the 2025 NBA draft. Now, I will want to make this point. Nothing moves the needle more for an NBA franchise than landing an all-time great caliber player or a top 10 player in the league. What would we be saying about the San Antonio Spurs right now if they even got the second pick of the draft and weren't able to get Wemby? We were saying they're a nice young team, but we would not even be considering them, winning championships over the next couple of years. But now, since they have Wembanyama, we're saying the Spurs could be a dynasty. Like, besides having a franchise top-end quarterback in the NFL, nothing moves the needle in all of sports than having an all-time great player on your team. And the Bulls could give themselves a lottery ticket in landing, in my opinion, an all-time great talent in Cooper Flagg. Now, this 2025 draft class is absolutely loaded. And, let's just say the Bulls are around 500 at the deadline, and maybe they just want to up their stakes and, guarantee they have a chance to land Flagg. I wouldn't be against it, but I think Cooper's the real deal. He went toe-to-toe with LeBron during the Team USA scrimmages, and I think he's going to be, fantastic. But you also got a guy like Ace Bailey. Keep your eyes out from him. Freak athlete who's going to be playing his freshman hoops this collegiate season for Rutgers. He's a freak. Reminds me actually a lot of a guy like Tracy McGrady. So keep your eyes out on him as well. But what about a big point guard? 6'6", Nolan Traore. Now, all three of these guys I actually think are going to be all NBA caliber players. Now, the Traore pick, you would hope that, or maybe I would consider this pick a little more if you don't have Coby, Josh Giddey, or, Io on the roster, and the Bulls do end up being sellers at the deadline. I would consider Traore a little more, but if the Bulls don't, if the Bulls don't deal any of those guys, I don't really see a fit for Traore, in my opinion. But what about Ron Harper's kid, Dylan Harper, also playing at Rutgers this upcoming year? They're going to be a fun watch if you're a hoop head that likes watching college ball. But Dylan Harper, freak athlete, really physical guard, and he's a very savvy player. We already see his game. It's very developed for him being at such a young age, and I think he's going to be a stud in the league as well. But this is my man, and this is who I want the Bulls to pick because I think it's the more likely option out of these five. What about a Common Malak? Now, he did play in the Olympics with South Sudan. Didn't get a ton of run, but he's 7'2", can shoot threes, freak athlete, and he's that prototypical rim protecting, lob catching center, which I think is very effective in today's modern day. But, hey, I'll say this. If the Bulls end up getting Cooper Flagg, they are back. Like, that is what I guess is positive and also negative about being an NBA fan is that, it really only takes one player to change the direction of your franchise. So, like, that lottery ticket for the Bulls next season, I mean, that's going to be probably the most important day in franchise history is, if they have a chance to go land flag. And if they do, they would be fully back. I mean, also the NBA, if you ever want to rig a draft lottery, this would be the one to do so. Put him in a big market, third biggest market in the NBA. Get Cooper Flag in Chicago. But the Bulls also may not have their pick next season. And, this was a full breakdown on the Bulls Spurs draft pick. Chicago's first round pick to San Antonio is protected for selections 1 through 10 in 2025, 1 through 8 in 26, and 1 through 8 in 27 as well. If Chicago has not yet conveyed a first round pick to San Antonio by 27, then Chicago will instead convey its 28th second round pick to the Spurs. And this is incredibly important. Like, I don't want to undervalue this, as I think, honestly, most Bulls fans and Bulls media members have. Like, if they don't get their first round pick next season, or honestly the next 3 years, that will be a disappointment. We're going to be looking back at the DeMar DeRozan trade and think, what the hell are we thinking, even though DeMar was fantastic with the Bulls. So I think that's incredibly important to note. And, I'll wrap my thoughts up by saying this. I know Bulls fans, you probably got a little mad seeing the video saying, oh, Bulls trading Coby White. I get that. But sometimes you need to take a step back in order to move a step forward. And, with where the Bulls franchise is right now, it's just, you're in the gutter. And, sometimes you need a 15-win season to pull you out. And you can make the argument, look at the Pistons. I understand that. Like, they have been a terrible franchise for 10 years, and they still don't have a star player. But just giving yourself a lottery chance to win Cooper Flag, in my opinion, is still the number one priority for this team this upcoming year, besides, obviously, players on your own team developing. But hey, if you guys made it to the end of today's show, Real One Roll Call here on the channel, give me a C red down below in the comment section so I can know who all the real ones are. And also, guys, make sure you guys are following me on Twitter. I'm going to be tweeting about the Bulls all off season and season long. So give me a follow over there. See you guys next time. Go Bulls.